W. Okay, great. So let's begin. The first question is an interesting one. Oh, that's not the first one. The first question is not here. I'm going to give you the first question, though. The first question, let me tell it. The first question someone asks is it possible to use discovery interface display logic rules to hide items from a certain library location in Primo? I don't know why that's not on here. You'll have to excuse me, but I will put it in here right now. I will say 1, 2. The question here is now, great, I've made a new one. Just so everyone can see. Is it possible to hide items from a certain library or location using Primo or using discovery interface display logic rules? Okay, and this was asked by two people slightly differently. The answer is no, but it's possible in a similar way. If we go in now to Alma and we look at our discovery interface display logic rules, so we all know we go to the fulfillment configuration menu, and then we have various rules here. And if we go under discovery interface display logic to the display logic rules and we add a rule, I can hide all kinds of things, but there's no option here which says hide items from library whatever if exists library whatever, or hide items from location whatever if exists who knows what. And it's not quite the same as suppressing or not publishing, because we may have one bibliographic record with items from several different libraries and or locations, and we would want some of them to appear but not others, or we may want to do this just temporarily. We may have a flood in a certain library, or all the employees are on vacation from a certain location, the reserve room. We don't want anything from the reserve room for the next week to appear in Primo. Okay, so we have a way to do that. Let's take a look at an example. Close this one, and we have an example here with an item in 3 different locations. The complete book of inventory management. There it is. So we can see we've got this in the education library music location, main library general location, and medical library reference. And if we look for this in Primo, we also see here, when we go to the Get It tab, that we have all 3 library locations. And at the top, it starts available at library, music, and other locations. I'm going to take a picture of this because we're going to make a little change here, and we want to see how it looked before and after. So I've got the picture. Now, inside Alma, I can hide a certain location or all locations of a library. Let's say, for example, the medical library reference. We no longer want to appear here in Primo. Discovery. So what we can do here is go to the general configuration menu, and we want to edit the physical locations of a certain library. So we need first to configure for that certain library. So we're going to choose here the...
Hi, can you hear them?
Pardon?
Can you I think we're... Are you Schmull? Smell? Oh.
Wait, this is Yoel speaking.
I'll help you solve this problem. No, this is the Ask the Expert session.
Yeah.
Oh, here we are.
Please, can you send us a note to training team so I'll know who you are and I'll send you instructions.
Are we able to do it to the audio? Well, I have.
Okay, I think that was Tony. Hi, Tony, it's Yoel. I think I think you went into the wrong meeting. All right, let's continue. So, we have here medical library reference. Choose medical library, go to our physical locations, and in the reference location, we're going to edit it. And here we can say suppress from externalization. By the way, I believe this text is going to be changing shortly to suppress from discovery. In any case, now I have checked it. Save. And now if we do the same exact search here, the complete book of inventory, Alma University search, and we click get it again, now we only have education library and main library. We no longer have the medical library. And if we look at the picture before, you can see here, formerly, we had education, main, and medical. Now all we have is education and main. So we did suppress in discovery a certain library location. However, we didn't do it using the discovery interface display logic rules. We did it instead by editing the physical location. Now I'm going to put it back so that next time somebody won't be wondering why it doesn't appear. Unchecked suppress from externalization. Save there. We're going to do the same search. Now we've got 2 library locations here. Search again and click the get it. And now we've got 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that answers our question, is it possible to hide items from a certain library or location using discovery interface display logic rules? Are there any questions or comments on that one before we move on? Let's see, participants, are there any questions or comments here from anybody? No questions or comments. Let's make sure, as we like to do periodically, that everybody's in and hears us okay. Just give us a hand raise if you, okay. Bronwyn hears us. Chris hears us. How about you, Julie, Matthew, Shirley, and Sue? Okay, the hands are going up. Great. Okay, let's go on to the next question, which is actually the first question. We have an interface called, and I didn't want to put here the actual name of the interface because we're supposed to keep this anonymous, and it appears in the View It tab of Primo. How can we set up the system so that only logged in Primo users can see it? Okay. So let's take an example first of all. That question is pretty clear. They have an electronic resource with a certain interface, then they only want that interface to be visible to logged in users. All right. So let's go first to Alma, look at an example in Alma, then we'll go to Primo and see how it appears there. So let's take a look here. For example, the Velveteen Rabbit, classic. We see here, for example, that there are electronic versions at both Project Gutenberg and at University of Pennsylvania Digital Library. And if we come into Primo and do the same search here, and do View It, here also, we have Project Gutenberg and University of Pennsylvania. In library, and I'm logged in. I'm logged in and I see them both. Now I'm going to sign out. Do the same search. Velveteen. And here also we see View It.
and enjoy the other thing.
We see both electronic resource interfaces. Now the person says, how can we make it so a certain interface will only be seen if somebody is logged in? Okay, so let's go take a look. Right now I am not logged in. We saw previously when I was logged in, I saw them all. So let's go to the Discovery Interface Display Logic rules. Here we are back in Alma. To Fulfillment Configuration menu, Discovery Interface Display Logic rules. Up, I got to go back to my institution up on top so I see all of the options, and here we are. And what we'll do here is make a new rule. We'll say add rule, and we'll say, first of all, for the section for user from groups, there's an option here to say guest. So we'll say for guest, hide the service, full text, with interface. Now we have two interfaces here. We have Project Gutenberg and University of Pennsylvania Digital Library. Let's hide the University of Pennsylvania Digital Library. Here it is. And we won't even say any other conditions. We could say if exists whatever. We could say hide it only if I have Project Gutenberg. In other words, keep it all the time, but if there's also Project Gutenberg, hide it. But I'm going to say all the time for a guest, hide the University of Pennsylvania Digital Library interface. But I could add another condition there if I wanted to. Okay, so let's add this and close it. And here it is. And we're going to do the same search again. You see, I see both of them. Let's even take a picture, just so we can compare it after and have no doubts of what happened. Here we see that we've got both of them here. Let's even make that red with a solid color fill. And we see here that I'm guest. Now we come along to here. We search again now that we made the rule. I'm back into Primo. Search. View it. Now I do not see University of Pennsylvania Digital Library. Now I see only Project Gutenberg while I'm guest. We look at what used to happen. I used to see both of them while I was guest. Now we'll log in here, sign in. I'm back into Primo. I'm going to sign in. Signing in. Now I'm in as a user. I'm not guest. View it. And now I see both of them. Now I do see the University of Pennsylvania Digital Library because I'm not a guest. We'll go back, put it back to the way it was. I'm going to remove this. Come back here, sign out, and now I should again see both of them. Signing out. View it. Oh, that's a different one. I want to search only here and only university. So I'm not going to get the Primo Central. View it. And now again, I have both of them because I removed the rule. Okay, so that's how we can determine for a guest to hide a certain interface. Okay, we hid the interface University of Pennsylvania Digital Library. Only for guests it was hidden. For logged in users, they could see it. Are there any questions or comments there before we go on? Let's go take a look at our participant list. Wow, it's growing every time. Everybody still hear us all right? I'm looking at the ever-growing participant list here. How about a quick hand raise, just to make sure someone raised their hand even before I said let's raise our hands to make sure you can hear. All right, so it looks like we have good communication. Welcome, Roger. I see Roger just joined us. Okay,
yes, hi,
great. Hi, Roger. Nice to see you. Okay, let's go on. Okay, when I make a discovery interface display logic rule, there is an option for request and for general hold request. I know what the request is, and I see in the Get It tab of Primo what is the general hold request. Okay, well, first of all, it could be that in your library there are no situations where general hold request is relevant. The general hold request is a hold request for an item which does not exist. In other words, if there's a bibliographic record and it has a holding record and there are no items connected to that holding record, then you can still make a request. The most common situation are older physical journals where a library would have the bibliographic record of the journal and a holding record which would have an 852 field with a library, a location, a call number, and then an 866 or some other summary holding field which would say something to the effect of Volume 3 to Volume 10, 1971 to 1981, missing Volume 7, Issue 2, something to that effect. For example, if I come into my Alma again and I do a search here, I have a record here which has a physical version, as you can see, but it has no items. That means there's a holding record, but there's no physical items. If we take a look at this, I'll bring it up in the metadata editor. And from within the metadata editor, we'll do Tools, Mark 21, View Inventory. Tools, Mark 21, Bibliographic, View Inventory. Here we see I have no items, but I'll do Edit. I do have a holding record. Now, if somebody were to come and search for the same record in Primo, H, then if he does the Get It, he's not signed in. Let's sign in first. Sign in. And he does Get It. So now he has Don't See What You Need, Request Anyway. This is the general hold request right here. There's no actual item. It even says 0 copies, 0 available. And when he clicks this, he can say, okay, I want to pick something up at the main library. Ooh, that's because I clicked in on the booking, which we're going to get to in a moment. That's the general hold request. Now, let's go take a look at the Discovery Interface Display Logic rules and see where that appears and how we can play with it. If we come along, I'm going to close and reopen that Primo. We're going to see why that happens when we get to the booking question in a moment. I'm signing in again. Okay, so he came along and he searched here, Alma University. Get it? Okay, and here he has his request. Now here, Discovery Interface Display Logic Rules, Fulfillment Configuration Menu, Display Logic Rules, and here we'll say Add Rule, If we don't want that to appear, or let's even see where it appears in the first place, general hide service, general hold request. These are the two hold requests the person is referring to when they state here, there's an option for request in general hold request. Request in general hold request. If I take this general hold request and I say hide general hold request, if I always want to hide it, I can say hide it when it exists. Kind of a philosophical question here. Well, if it's not existing, how can I hide it? But anyway, this is how we hide it in absolute terms. It's never going to appear now. Or we could say, if I have request, the regular hold request, and hide the general hold request. But let's just hide it for our purposes right now. So we're hiding general hold request. Let me actually do it for all users right now. Add and close. So now we're saying, let me get rid of this one. For all users, hide general hold request if we have it. So the guy comes along now, does the same search in Primo, does the get it, and now he no longer has it. No longer has the general hold request. On the other hand, if we search for anything else, inventory management, which we were playing with before, here he's not going to have it anyway because of other rules. Here they're all available. So that's the general hold request. That's the difference between the general hold request and the regular hold request. What we could also say here, if we want to go in a little deeper, I'm going to remove this rule. And we'll say, or let's get to the next question first, because sometimes we don't finish all these questions. And the next one is directly related here. Sometimes in the Get It tab of Primo, there appears don't see what you need, request anyway. That's what we just saw a moment ago. And what we should see again right now, here, do the same search again. Get it. Here. Sometimes in the Get It tab of Primo, there appears don't see what you need, request anyway. I cannot figure out under what circumstances this appears. Okay, that part of the question we just answered. It appears if it's not hidden in a discovery interface display logic rule, and there's a holding record, and there are no items. Next part, how can I remove it? We saw how we can remove it by making that rule. Is the text hard-coded? So now we'll talk about, is the text hard-coded? Who can guess? Let's have some participation. Who can guess? Where can I go now and change the text? I want to change the text of this. Where can I change this? I don't want it to see, don't see what you need, request anyway. I'll say, make request for non-existent item, or whatever we want. Raise your hand up. We have an answer here. Labels, discovery labels, 2 answers. Wonderful. So that's in the discovery interface display logic rules labels. And I'm back in the discovery interface display logic. Here's my labels. And I should have one of them. We'll look for the word anyway. There it is. And here, if we want, let's customize it. Don't see what you need, request anyway. Oh, let me do a control left, it'll be quicker. Here it is. Don't see what you need, request anyway. Let's call it something else. You. I think last time we played with the HTMLs in here. You really want to request this? Okay, just giving it another text, doesn't matter what. We'll save it. That's saved. We'll come back. I'm still logged in. We'll do a search. Here it is now. Search again. Get it. Beautiful, right? Even with our HTML tags. Okay, so that's where we can change it. Obviously, we don't want to use the HTML tags, but that's where we can change the text. Inside here, I'm going to put it back now so the next guy who comes and gives a demo will not encounter a funny text. Customize, comes along again, search, get it, and there she is back to normal. Okay. Are there any questions about the general hold request? When it appears, how to hide it, how to change the text? You can raise your hand, send in a question, or just start talking. Okay, so let's move on. Next, according to, oh, this is a good one. This is a good one because it's a nice new feature with a lot of power. According to the online help, there is a booking option for request in the Get It tab. We have items which are bookable and they can be booked. But when I do get it for an item which can be booked, I see only request and not book or booking. Okay, great. Let's first of all get an example, and I have an example ready, of course. It's on my next page here. Okay. And I've got a whole nother example. One moment, please. Sorry, I am ready. I am prepared. I've got everything printed here. Okay. So let's look for bibliometrics. Library science, and we'll spell that properly so we find it. Library. Okay, that should be enough for us. Library. Okay. Here it is. Okay, if I were to say here, requests, we're talking about bibliometrics, library science, and urban knowledge transfer. I'm going to save this on the side for our example. And I say request. I'm in Alma right now because I want to show bookable, not bookable before we go in to Primo and Play. And I say booking request. And then I choose a user. I can start now booking. I want to book it for tomorrow from 11 to tomorrow at 11:30. Okay, I'm not getting any errors here. I can request it. Everything's fine. On the other hand, if I were to search for, and let's just put here, sorry, this is requestable, and enter or bookable. Now I have another example where I search for, I didn't save this booking yet, for B-I-B-L-I-O. I don't want to say this one because it's not in, it's in a language I don't speak fluently and I don't want to embarrass anybody. Okay. So, bibliotecing. I guess I said that right, bibliotecing. I guess there's only so many ways that can be said. Request. Here, I'll say booking request, just like I did before. Take the same user. And now I cannot request it. Okay, so we have an example of an item which is bookable and an item which is not bookable. So here we have not bookable. Okay. Now let's go to Primo and see exactly what the story is. let me first make sure, I'm going to get rid of all of my discovery interface display logic rules right now so that I don't have any conflicts of definitions now to play around with what we're doing. Display logic rules, great. Nothing's active. And we come into Primo. And first, I'm going to search for the one that is bookable. Or I might even only search for that one. So the one which is bookable is here. And now let's go to the person's question. Let's let that come up. Oh, I still have internet. What's going on here? Well, if I don't have internet, you guys wouldn't hear me, would you? Okay, I've got Google. So while we're waiting for that to search, let's look at the person's question. According to the online help, the booking option there is a booking option for requesting the Get It tab. We have items which are bookable. Okay, the example we just have, we proved is bookable. But when I do Get It, I see requests and I don't see book or booking. Okay, here it is. Good. Get It. And now, just like the person said, I see request. How come I don't see book or booking? Okay, and the reason is, it's because after I click request, then if the item is bookable, there will be another radio button which will let me say booking or regular hold. So this one we saw is bookable. Therefore, if I click booking, watch, this is going to change. Right now it's just until when am I interested. Now if I click booking, however, now the screen has changed. It's dynamic. Instead of having one screen for booking, one screen for request, you just do request and then you change it according to the radio button. You see the screen changing when I do that? Beautiful. On the other hand, if we come and we search for the non-bookable one, and we do Get It, now that was a lot quicker, and we do request, now I do not have the option of clicking the radio button for booking or request because this one we already saw is not bookable. Okay, before we do questions or comments, there's another question directly related to this. Let's get that one and then we'll stop up for the subject. So the next one, when the booking functionality was first being developed, we were told that we could use discovery interface display logic to make it so that items could be booked by staff or patrons in Alma, but not by patrons themselves in Primo. How is this possible? So we used to call this, or maybe perhaps we still do, but we used to call it staff initiated. So the library wants to have booking be allowed, but they don't want the patron to be able to do it themselves. They want only that the staff can make the booking request for the patron. This is very common with media. There are places with laptops or tablets or e-readers of various sorts, Kindle, etc., and they do want it bookable, but they don't want the patrons to come and book it for whatever reason in their library. So the person says they were told by Ex Libris that this would be possible by using the discovery interface display logic, but they don't see any option here in the discovery interface display logic to say, in other words, yes for Alma and no for Primo. Okay, so let's take our example of bibliometrics, library science, and urban knowledge transfer, which we saw. Bibliometrics, let me just copy and paste, that's why I put it here in the first place. This one we saw is bookable in both Alma and Primo. And now we want to say, make it bookable, but only in Alma. We don't want patrons to be able to do it in Primo. As we saw now, he can do get it. He's logged in. He can do get it, request, and he has this option. We want to remove this option from discovery, but we want it to remain so that when somebody searches the staff, search Alma, and do request, and choose booking, and choose that patron, they don't get an error message. Okay, so here we go. In order to do that, discovery interface display logic rules. And we'll say, add a rule. Okay, we can say for all patrons, certain patrons, oh, that's another point. We can do it only for certain patrons if we want. We're going to say hide the service booking request. First of all, we could say hide the booking request in general so it will never appear. And then we solved our issue. Or we could go a little more specific and say hide the booking if we have regular hold request. So now there won't be a radio button. It'll be just booking, just request, or we could say just hide the service booking all the time. But let's start with this. Add and close. There she is. Back into Primo, still logged in. Same search, everybody sees the screen. I have holding and booking. Now I do search. I click the get it one more time. I click the request, and now I no longer have the radio button here. I have hidden it, but only for discovery. When the person comes along here and does his search and chooses request and booking, he will still be able to do it, and he will not get a message that it's hidden for him. Okay. So that covers both questions about the booking, where it appears after the request, not right in the get it, it's after you click request, and how it can be hidden so that it can be done by staff in Alma, but not by patrons in Primo. Are there any questions or comments on that one before we go on to the next question? You can just start talking, you can send in a question, or you can do nothing. All right, so I guess the do nothing. Let's just give one more quick test here. Everybody hear all right out there? Just give a hand raise if you can hear us okay. Okay, the hands are going up. Roger, you hear us all right? I didn't see your hand go up. Okay, we'll assume so. Bill, Ben, Bronwyn, everybody hears us all right? Great. Okay. Next, and this is our final question, so we can take it easy here. We don't have to rush. In the discovery interface display logic related records, I see an option display closely related record services. Could you please explain what this is and show an example? Okay, so first of all, let's open up here a presentation here about the discovery interface display logic for related records. And there are 3 title pages here. There's a hidden meaning behind the 3 title pages. Now, let's take a look at our examples here instead of going through the whole thing, but it explains all of them. Let's look at our examples. The man who fell through the earth, the room with castles. So, the man who fell through the earth, and we'll put that into the metadata editor. Edit. And the related record is the room with castles. Let me get rid of this record here. This is the one we're playing with before. And edit this one also. So now we have both records open. Let's view them in split editor mode. These are related records with electronic inventory. Okay, if I look down on my left at the room with tassels, has two 773 fields, which are related to other records, and we're interested in this first one here, the man who fell through the earth, which is this record here, and here, the room with tassels is related via the MMS ID in subfield W, and here is my MMS ID in subfield W, and that's the story. That's the relation. If we come into Primo, and I search for one of them, let's start with the room with the tassels. This is before we even look at the definition we have for the discovery interface display logic rules. Okay, here it is. And when I do view it, all I see now is Project Gutenberg free books. I see this actual book here, not the one that's related to it, just this one. I click it, and I get right to this book, The Room with the Tassels. Everything's fine. Everything's fine depending on how I want it. If I want to see the related records, then everything is not fine. And if I search for the other one, the man who fell through the earth, here it is, man who fell through the earth, view it, same thing here, I see only the link directly to itself. I click on that and I get right to the man who fell through the earth. Okay, so far so good. Now we come along and we go to Discovery Interface Display Logic Rules, Related Records. Here we are. This is the part of the question the person refers to when they say, I see an option, Display Closely Related Record Service, right here. So first of all, I'm going to enable my related record service, and I'm not going to choose that for now. Or let's say for now, I'm going to say as part of the original services. The question here, oops, sorry, wrong PowerPoint. The question here is, could you explain what this is and show an example? That's exactly what we're going to do right now. Explain what it is and show an example. And here in this presentation, closely, we've also got it. So just like in my presentation here, we're going to say, display the closely is as part of the original services. So just like the presentation we have in our real situation, we're enabling the closely related with part of the original services. Here we go, save. And now let's do the same search here. We saw a moment ago, every time we did view it, we get the link to the full text, and it goes directly to the same book that we start at. And let's do a search again and see what's going on here. Here we go. You can take mine, right? Okay. Search. Okay, one moment, please. We have a small technical issue. One moment, please. Okay, everybody, sorry about that minor technical issue. So we changed now to be enable yes as part of the original record services. We search. We view it. And now we see two different links. We see the link to the item itself and to the related record. For example, here, if I click the top one when I'm at the man who fell through the earth, I get the man who fell through the earth. And if I click the second one, I get the room with the tassels. So now I do have links to each of the related records from within the View It. That's the first part. Now, the specific question, display closely related record services. Now we've done it by saying as part of the original services. Let's actually take a picture again here so it'll be clear. This is what we've got now. Right here, they're together. Now we'll come along and we'll say separately from the original services. Save. And now we'll go into Primo, do the same search again. Click the View It. Now we see, I think this way is a lot better, by the way, because now you see also what it's for. So now we see the first link here, which is going to go through the man who fell through the earth. There it is. And this one, which already tells us before we even link, that it's going to go right to the room with the tassels. I personally don't know why someone would not want it this way, but, you know, every time we make a configuration or even more so a change to configuration, there's always somebody who wants something we couldn't figure out why, so they're both there. Okay, I see that a question came in. This is only for electronic related records. The answer is yes. This is not for the physical, which in any case would say inventory of related records. Okay, are there any questions or comments about the closely related services, for lack of a better word, the closely related services, the last option here? Any questions or comments about that? No other questions or comments. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? We still have 7 minutes left. Are there any other questions or comments in general? Anything anyone wants to say? Get something off your mind? Nothing. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, can you just go back to the Alma again? Just to look at those two records to see which is part of which.
Okay. Back in the metadata editor. You want me to go to the metadata editor? Okay. Is this what you wanted me to show?
Thank you. I just wondered which one had the 773.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this one here.
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
Okay. All right. So thank you, everybody. And we'll see everybody next time. Have a nice day. Bye.